Just says he was at the
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. And approved.
Motion to approve the minutes.
second.
Jeez,
All in favor,
he's
say-
awake
All
today.
in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Abstain. Opposed, say nay. Minutes approved. Community.
Yesterday, Housing Trust Fund had a special meeting. They are applying for a grant that could max was $4 million, but they're gonna try for 1.6 with a local match of 10%. Right now, Lynn County's put in 30,000, Johnson County's put in 30,000, the Housing Trust Fund put in 100,000. So right now they could apply for 1.3 right now, but they're gonna try to make it a little bit bigger. Right now, there's no county, they're not gonna require counties to put anything into it. But that sounds like a very good deal. It's gonna help a lot of get the lead paint out of these houses. Paint, especially if they have a child under 6 years old. That's where they really want to put the focus on. So, if we approved it, and it's gonna move forward with the grant now, so.
Good.
That was the only one I had for the week. I was in Chicago the rest of the time, I had to do that on the way home. The kids got to listen to the meeting here. I'm thrilled.
I bet. I had Board of Health, which was interesting to say the least. The Johnson County Public Health ladies came and they talked about the prenatal and maternal care services that they're providing on behalf of Iowa County. So that was interesting to hear, and hopefully we'll get more advertising about the services that they're providing. Sherry's report was pretty status quo. Health Department report was status quo, but then on our agenda, we had some resolutions, quote, that were on there. I'd like to take a minute to read these because I think that I'm going to say this politically. I was very frustrated that they were on our agenda and that we were getting into even national level politics as a Board of Health. So I'll read these. In light of the recent measles investigations and nursing shortage, I move to commend the Iowa County Health Department for outstanding service. I also ask that this recognition be shared through Iowa County's official communication channels. Fine and dandy. My only thing with this one was, are we going to start doing resolutions every time someone has to do their job? If Sherry has to do a time of transfer inspection on a weekend, are we going to pass a resolution? Second one, in light of recent discussions regarding the value and funding of Iowa County's emergency medical services, I move to commend our EMS professionals for their service and recognize their role as an essential service for the health and safety of Iowa County. This one, they nixed, and I voted for this one, the part of in light of the recent discussions, because I enlightened our chair there that when we discussed EMS recently, we did discuss that it's going to be continued to be fully funded and that nobody on this board had any negative things to say about our EMS. Resolution 3. In light of recent changes in state and federal policies, I move that we recognize the importance of access to affordable health insurance, be it commercial plans, Medicare, Medicaid, as essential to the health and well-being of Iowa County citizens, their families, communities, and our healthcare infrastructure. This one, I simply wanted nothing to do with. I don't know why we're going to go against our state and federal legislators, and I don't know what the Board of Health has to do with this, or even the EMS. They did amend it. Jody had a good amendment that taking out the recent changes in state and federal policies, and then instead that we recognize that our health department is responsible for part of their services is getting access to these, helping people apply. So that one got changed and it was decent. Once again, I'm not sure why we had to do it. Resolution 4. In light of recent policy and public discussion about defunding the home health department at the Board of Supervisors, I move that we as the Board of Health recognize access to home health care as a critical service in our communities. This one I felt like was some kind of trap to lock us into providing home health care forever, which I have said time and time again. I don't know how long we can afford to fund every department to the extent that we are. I don't have a magic 8 ball for next year on valuations and where we're going to come in tax-wise, so I did not vote for that one. And this one they did not take up, but I would like to bring it to your attention. In light of the fact that our home health department cares for dozens of Iowa County residents who are uninsured or underinsured, I move that we request the Iowa County Board of Supervisors take urgent action to provide funding and publicly affirm their support to stabilize the home health department, so residents do not have this critical service taken away. Once again, it was going to do nothing, and I reassured them. I think there was some misunderstanding amongst the board members there that department is fully funded for the next fiscal year. When we have discussions, or if we have discussions in January, once we figure out where we're going to be financially, that's when, further discussions would continue. But at this point in time, they are fully funded for a year. I'd also like to, I don't know if you guys saw the Gazette article by the board chair, Dr. Ribbentrop. Did anyone else see that? So, issues with that. There was a lot of misinformation that was put into that article. I did not like that he portrayed himself as a member of Compass. And he spoke on behalf of Compass, saying things like that we are, what did he say, shoving the ambulance over to them. That couldn't be farther from the truth. And that if the ambulance service went to the hospital, they would be one step closer to collapse, I think was what his term was. And there was also discussion about the EMTs, that it would be to their detriment that the hospital took the ambulance over. So there was a lot of misinformation that was spewed in that article. There was information about our legislators and myself that was construed incorrectly. But, I think that when it comes time to appointing the medical director for that department going forward, I'm going to personally reconsider putting him back on there, because I don't like politicizing our health department, and I don't think that's the mechanism or the way that we should be going. And that is it.
Okay, we'll take a small break here for a minute between communications, open forum, and then once you come up, so you can go back.
Mine will be really quick. I sent you guys the applications that I would recommend be disallowed today. So we received 5 new disabled vets for this year, 8 new militaries, and 189 new homesteads. So kind of light compared to, I think all the rush was when we redid all the homesteads before. So there were 5 on there that we review all of the applications, and there were 5 that we recommend be disallowed for the various reasons of not qualifying. So I just need a motion to allow the ones that we have researched and feel are allowable, and then to disallow these 5.
You want to
I'll
separate
make a motion.
motions?
You can do it probably all together. I'm not
Okay,
I'll make a motion to accept their allows and disallows.
is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion approved.
And then I'll just need a signature on the disallows, and then I have a list for you, Kristen, of ones and the reasons why they don't, so I'll pass that down to Kristen for me. I don't know if you want to do that now.
We're gonna just do it now.
Yeah. For all.
And then we can go back to communications if you want.
Abby, can you send me the link to that article?
Or just your notes.
I sure can.
Where'd you see it, on Facebook, or did you get the Gazette?
Somebody sent it to me.
Yeah, I got it sent to me by someone.
I didn't even see it.
That's where I got it also.
You got it?
Send to me.
As far as communications, I wasn't here last year, or last week, obviously, or last
Still
year,
okay.
or last year.
So,
But,
Disallow.
last week, I had early childhood, and it was, I mean, it was just a basic meeting, nothing changed, nothing new, finances look good, so that's all I have.
All I got is I had the meeting after our meeting last week, and
Mhm.
most of it was a closed meeting, so I can't discuss it, but it was about the Hardin County lawsuit against the commission, which they're also part of the commission, but, it sounds like they gave us a proposition for a settlement, and it sounds like there's gonna be a counter offer and probably maybe a settlement by the end of the month, so.
These are all disallows.
So I'll either try to be at that meeting on the 22nd or go Zoom after our meeting. I could probably just Zoom after our meeting, depending on what we got going on in agenda. Then also, I got contacted by Friends of Iowa County Conservation. Chris didn't go last year, but last year I went to their banquet. You had something going on. Just encourage us, if anybody has a chance to go. It's in October sometime, but it's really kind of a neat thing to support that conservation, Friends of Iowa County, because they do a lot for the lake and the county and stuff.
Gateway.
But I plan to attend again.
I talked to Dylan, spoke with there's a few leaks at the county home. Hopefully they're just caulking. And then out there, then I met with, what's the conservation guy's name again?
Jake?
Yeah, I met with him about this.
Oh, yeah, he told me, I can't.
So did it go well for him?
He called me the other day and I couldn't talk to him because I was at baseball game.
So we talked this over, I told him my concerns and what are the property lines, we own the whole thing, there's no conservation property. So he needs to make sure he runs everything by us.
Right.
The funding, what he sounded like, seems really workable.
Right.
Which, at first, I didn't understand it, and I had to write it down a couple times. But she's supposed to come in, and I go, well, you need to come in. And he'll have a better plan than he said. Because I told him you can't mess with the transportation.
Right. That's why I wanted him to meet with you, so.
And then somebody, was at the board, they talked about they were gonna pave the other part of the auxiliary parking. They're not gonna do that. I called and checked on that. Because we're supposed to gravel our little grass area, and I didn't wanna do that if they're gonna do paving
Right.
until they're done.
Oh, the Legion, you mean?
It's called auxiliary, so it's Legion. I think that's all I had. Well, that's good timing.
And Nick?
Good morning.
I'm just kidding. My desk is a mess with it.
With the conservation thing, it says in 2 phases, but it might be closer to 5 stages,
Right.
How many?
like 5,
Oh, really?
to do the funding.
Yeah.
But there's grant money out there that's being utilized by the state. So they think they have a good chance of getting it.
All right, for construction this week, I still have not started the bridge on D Avenue, but we are running days. So it's open, but we're charging days. M1912, they're working on moving some dirt around, and then hopefully next week we'll be able to get the bedding done. Our guys have been really getting after the mowing and the grading, and a little bit of ditching, and then a lot of spot and rock with all that rain and everything else. We're spotting a lot of rock, and then we're also getting a lot of rock stockpile out to the yard.
Do we have any bad washouts anymore? We didn't have any go across the road anymore, did we?
Well, there was lots of spots where, yeah, the water would go across the road, like, and create a rut that big. So they've been handling that and the dust controls.
Can I talk about the dust control? I got some phone calls north of Marineville.
Alan?
That's just
Yeah, Allen's area.
That road, yeah.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of calls came from.
Yep.
They ripped out some of the dust controls that were in bad shape, they said.
They were in bad shape, is
What you were told.
So, we got a little bit of rain, and
Well, I understand. I mean, I
the
just,
motivator asked me, we're supposed to be getting a second round of dust controls here coming up. And if you get rain like that, you can go ahead and grade through them, and they'll kind of heal back together. And so, seemed like a good time to do it right before the second application.
so I just want you to be aware, you might get some phone calls.
That's fine. I had talked to the motor grader, and we worked it out, and I said I will have his back on those.
Well, I told them to call Seth, they were closer to Seth. He could go
I
look at
know.
it. I did tell him, I said, Seth could go look at him, he's closer.
No dust on his road.
So I just want you to be aware of it.
Yep.
I think you're gonna have to probably redo mine again, even if it went across my road. So probably gonna have to come out. I just got reapplied there last week too, but
And then what happened?
the rain went across the road again. Comes out of my hills and just boils out my driveway and just goes down there and jumps the road.
Okay, well, you should talk to your applicator about that, because then that means that they would have sprayed probably at an inappropriate time, and they should come back and do that.
But it was the rain that caused, we're gonna have to probably bring the grader in and reshape it, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
So, I don't know how to. Yeah, I don't know, see what you think. Maybe it's not as bad as I think, but.
Our new office manager started today, so that's good. And just for your guys' information, you guys will probably see a claim coming through from the insurance, rock chip from one of our loaded trucks hauling rock, and a windshield. So we took care of all that stuff. I'm not gonna get into too many specifics about this yet, but just want to make you guys aware, there was a pedestrian that fell on one of the Amana sidewalks, or near a sidewalk, or we're looking into that, everything, but,
On the main drag or was it a?
yes, near the main drag.
I thought you were taking a trip to Amana.
Person fell, yeah. So, yeah, I'm in contact with, McMean and Willis. We're trying to get that squared away. Our guys down in the shop have been looking, our new equipment this year will be a new semi/tractor, and a lowboy. So they're doing some research on that. Having some people take a look at that next week, but hopefully we can, get each of those in the next couple of weeks here.
So we're replacing, not adding, correct?
Correct.
What's the age of the tractor we're getting rid of?
I do not know.
The semi-tractor, which one, the red one or the other?
It's the one that runs the lowboy.
The Sterling.
And I'm not sure which one.
And you're gonna get a new low boy also?
Yeah, yeah, our lowboy seems to be down more than it seems to be working. So, surprised at what those cost. That's ridiculous that something should cost like that, but it is. We did get the TSIP, application I did submitted. That's for those curves on, coming out of Williamsburg there. And I also got the the annual report submitted. So that's good. We had a lot of in-house projects last year that we took care of, so that's all good. I have a couple guys asking about county shirts. Do we have any logos or county shirts or anything like that? Every time we go to a conference,
We have logos.
Yeah, there is a
logos,
logo.
does any department do shirts?
Ambulance has their own shirts.
Conservation has their own shirts.
Health department had the shirts and shirts.
Yep.
Okay,
I think that's it.
and, okay, so we have a style, and then who's in charge of like printing those or making those? Do you guys have like a,
We don't have a specific vendor.
I think everybody uses Lead. They would have the logo.
No, I think conservation is people in Millenburg, but it doesn't
They
matter.
did what?
I think they use the people in Millenburg. I couldn't tell you who it is.
Oh,
I didn't even know they're in.
I'm pretty sure Elite Sports does quite a few of them.
We talked to Adam.
Somebody used to have board of supervisor shirts too. That was before me.
and then I'm assuming that the employees pay for those shirts?
Yes, otherwise that's gonna open a whole new can of worms.
I think the,
But I mean, for Adam's crew, conservation's crew,
I think.
I wanna keep it,
I guess there's a uniform there. I guess it's not.
I think the association pays for it. I'm not
Who?
positive. The association,
What association?
like ambulance service, the
Oh.
EMT association. I'm not positive.
It's weird for work.
it'd be to wear during work. Now, my guys said that they would be willing, to use their safety money to have those shirts.
Like for ambulance, they pay for the shirts, the ambulance department does, and then we have to run it through payroll because they aren't taxed, obviously, so we have to put the tax on the employee through payroll.
And then they keep them. When you pay for them, you keep them. But wasn't there something with public health that,
They're trying to get a backpack paid for them. I have a department paid for
there's something there.
The conservation, I can register the uniform.
I would talk
allowance.
to Adam or conservation, they're the main two that
them. I do it.
run through our office. But if you pay for them through your department, I will need to know, and they will go through payroll, and they'll.
And I don't care, I want to keep it the same, whatever. I think it would be a good idea for us to have some of those shirts, especially when we go to conferences where,
You gotta realize you're a big department. There's a lot of other people gonna be asking.
well, and I want to keep it the same for, as all the other
I
departments.
think ambulance goes through Galls, Galls.
Same as the sheriff's office. Yeah. And I don't think Sarah's ever paid for anything she's got, because it's stuff she wears to work when she works.
And like I said, it's just the tax that we have to put that on.
So the employee, so the county pays for it.
And then it's with their W-2. I'll show you.
Okay, because I think this would be a great opportunity for some of those people to use their safety money. But then, if other departments are paying for it and the employee, then I got an issue, then I got to pay for it. So I wanna match what the other departments are doing to keep it fair, and I just wanna know the options is all.
But your office is somewhat different because you wanna make sure that nurses and health people are recognizable as opposed to you guys.
I know, I keep telling you we're different, every time we have to do stuff, you wanna keep it fair.
Everybody wants, fair is fair until it's not fair.
Right? So, but as far as the paying for things go, I will have to keep that fair.
I'll get you the policy on it.
Yeah, you got it. We'll at least start the conversation and working forward. And then, last thing I have here is, so we had a bridge that's been out a long time. And I believe that there was, this is down on Y Avenue, very, very southeast part of the county. That bridge has been out since I think 2012. They must have had road closed signs up, or to be honest, I've never even been down that far all the way to the bridge. Well, last year, I guess the landowners on each side made a low water crossing. So I can't leave it as it is. Somebody,
It's a liability issue.
yeah, I can't leave it as it is. So I think we got a couple options here. I can talk to the landowners to see if they want to vacate that road. There's about 3 of them. We could, or option number 2 is to make it a low water crossing. Low water crossing, kind of like what they have now, unvented, I think is what it's called. I'm not even so sure I can legally do that because it does drain 2,000 acres there. The water will get pretty high at certain points. If we put in some culverts and then some concrete, we're probably looking at 30 grand in materials and another 25 grand of our time and equipment. But I mean, our time and equipment, is already a sunken cost to the county. So would you like me to?
So have we been maintaining this somewhat?
No, well, we maintain, so that's like 3/4 of a mile, if not a mile, right down this level B. Maybe a half mile. We had only been maintaining halfway down and then after that, we just never, and it's a level B, and the landowners wanted to keep it grassy so they could get down it, which that's how I like level Bs too. So our grader only goes down it twice a year. And, but I mean, we could just, there's only 3 landowners and I think they all held it together. I mean, we could just call them and say, hey, you guys want to vacate it? Hey, you want to make it a level C? We'll put up gates. Or we could spend the 30 grand and.
That seems like a lot for a road that's probably not used.
Yeah, I'd see if they
We're
want
probably the
to.
only ones that use it.
Yeah, I'd say them vacate it, that way they can keep it the way it is.
I mean, I could vacate it halfway down, so we still grade some of it, put up the signs, and then they can put themselves in the driveway and do some, there's a whole bunch of options. Before we start talking vacation, I just want to check in with you guys.
For Little River Creek Crossing, it just looked like a nice slope and looked done.
Yeah, they did a good job of actually making it, but I mean, if you're going 60 miles an hour, your car is gonna fly off one end and nail the embankment on the other.
Are you speaking from experience?
I didn't try it on this one. I saw Dukes of Hazzard once or twice. Dukes of Hazzard.
They just have to explain to them that we can't, liability wise, keep leave it like that.
And the first thing we'll propose then is the vacation or something like that.
I think so. I would think so. That way they can still utilize it the way it is.
You got it.
If you send out the letters like you normally do.
I'll make phone calls to get them going at first, and if they want to proceed with the vacation, then we'll send out letters and get a public hearing going.
So I mean, it looks like a lot of the same landowners around the whole area.
And I think they were all 3 in cahoots in building it.
Yeah.
Which is nice, a little neighborly love there. Water come over Highway 21, I don't think so, but I don't know. I didn't go up there last night. we were talking about it yesterday. I think it was up to the shoulder. And I
It's
watched,
still up to the shoulder.
and I watched, watching the water levels. I don't think they went any higher, not yet. So it looks like they're changing the forecast all the time, but it looks like the water should at least stay down until Wednesday. And then we'll get whatever they have in Marshalltown right now, and we'll go back up a little bit. So Wednesday, we'll have to keep an eye on the roads. We don't have any barricades up, we've just been flipping the signs down.
Any other questions for Nick?
Did you, announce a weed commissioner
Yeah.
Suppose I can. We just got back all the tests and everything. What if I'm wrong, what if I can't yet?
Then wait.
I'm
You're thinking maybe, wait.
pretty sure that I could, but I don't wanna get in trouble.
Yeah, if there's any question,
Yeah, I might just wait. Just to make sure that's.
all right, anything else?
I don't know.
Thank you.
All right, yep, thank you.
Liquor license,
Motion to approve.
there was. There was.
Randy sent us one yesterday.
Yeah, they came in late.
Did anybody text Rob?
I'm right here.
I got it.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
I,
Opposed, say nay. Liquor license approved. Tepstra, Hoka and Associates FY 25 audit engagement letter consideration. To keep our auditors.
I'll make a motion to approve the engagement letter.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
I,
Opposed, say nay. Motion approved. Anybody have anything for next week? As of now, next week is Fair Week. Another Fair Week.
I don't think so.
Are you going anytime, Kevin, next couple weeks?
I'll be here for the meetings.
Okay.
I will too. I'll be gone, but I'll
Because
be.
I know this is vacation time, so if people are gonna be gone, make sure you let everybody know.
I just make sure I can miss.
I'll be here, as far as I know, I'll be here for
It was
everything.
exhausting.
Where'd you go to vacation at?
We went to the Ozarks, but he asked how it was, and I said it was exhausting.
Yeah.
With 5 kids.
Heard you
Yeah, it was hot. But I mean, it was good. We went out.
Did you go to boat or something?
Yeah, we went on the boat and then went to a couple pools and beaches, of course, and they have a lot. I mean, the kids have a lot, that's for sure. But they don't take naps and they don't, yeah.
Really?
I mean,
There's buildings everywhere.
But it was good. Yeah.
Aren't your cocktails?
Where do you go?
Baseball games. Did the museum stuff.
The heat of their was just terrible.
Yeah.
115 or 18, whatever.
Yeah, it was hot. But it didn't rain down there. I mean, it was raining up here, and it never really rained down there much. So.
Did anybody text Rob or not?
I did. He's on his way. I got a class reunion next week. Less than Kevin.
20th?
Than you guys.
20th?
40th. I'll be here.
Where's home?
Bancroft. I'll be here for the meeting though.
Is it Bancroft or is it like they have their own?
Yeah, the school's closed now. It was a Catholic school. up
Yeah,
there
okay.
Back in the day. It's actually the 40th anniversary of us winning the state baseball tournament.
Oh, cool. Did you, have nuns in running?
We had some nuns, yeah. When I started grade school, we had probably 20 nuns and 3 to 4 priests.
Okay.
You get
By the
your,
time I graduated, I think we had maybe 3 nuns and 2 priests.
you get smacked a few times with the yardstick?
The ruler,
The ruler.
yeah.
Remember that well,
There was discipline, yes. Some people got more than others.
huh? Is that why your hands lay the way it is?
Yeah,
That's where that finger came from, right?
bending back the finger out there.
How's the church coming? I just,
Good.
just a big hole.
Yeah, we're kind of waiting on those communication lines and Windstream's there today, taking some down, and then we just got MediaCom. And the next thing will be to have to put piers in the ground to support the structure, because the soil isn't suitable, it's real sandy, I guess.
How far down they're gonna have to go, you know, did they start
Oh,
with the piers?
several $1,000s worth.
Yeah. Whatever that equates to.
Yeah. They're hoping to have the structure enclosed by the first of the year.
Oh, you guys we're waiting on you guys, so who wants to come up and speak?
Computer? Yeah, I need to get a computer. Okay.
Does you want to share it up there?
Into HDMI. Yeah, up here, should run all the way. Should be a long cable. Run your stuff. Maybe. There should be a really long HDMI cable somewhere.
Did it get,
Oh, is it not the blue one?
did it get moved to the other room that one time and never came back?
I don't know, I'll go look at this.
I think you can screen share, can't you?
I'll get a smart TV.
It's not an Apple product.
How are you doing it with your?
I can share because I'm an Apple person.
Oh.
Yeah, when I drove down to Marshalltown, it was still flooded in Chelsea. They still had their main street closed in Chelsea. There was no other road that was, but it looked pretty darn close. Yeah, I'm not.
Good.
Is that the remote that you have?
I have to get it behind the TV or something.
I think the remote's right there, by Abby's statement.
I'm sorry,
Got everything all figured out for the wedding?
we're kind of on hold for now. We have to pay some bills
Yeah.
now.
That's great.
I will. You wanna do it? No.
That's all at first.
Yeah.
All right. This is Mike Miller. Mike Miller's the president of Raycom, Eastern company now. He's just gonna give you guys a presentation like you guys asked for. And then after we get all done with the presentation, we can talk about whatever question you guys have or however you wanna move forward. So I'll let Mike go ahead and talk through the radio system.
All right, cool. Thank you. I don't know that I've met any of you personally before. I'm Mike Miller, I'm Marshalltown president right now. I brought several folks with me today. Fill up your room. Dwayne Voss. Dwayne is the salesperson in this part of the state that deals with Sheriff Josh. And then Pete Shy, Pete's back there. Pete's our service manager, so if there's any service issues, installation radios, things that are broken, need to be fixed, Pete's the guy in charge of that. And Josh is our newest employee, and he started this week. He's actually in our finance and accounting operation, and I brought him here as a sort of learning experience. What is it that we sell here, and who buys this stuff, and why is it important, things like that. So I just asked Josh to come along, so we should ask him a couple of hard questions to try and stuff. Before I get started, I just wanted to thank you for all the business that you've given our company over the years. We've had a relationship together almost 10 years now, doing business. And I'm honored by that. Thank you very much for that great working relationship with your public safety folks and with your elected leaders. And so thank you. So presentation today is really just about 2 items. I was going to give a little overview of who we are, because some of you are new and haven't been here for the 10 years that we've been doing business together, and a little bit of overview about what your radio system for public safety first responders looks like in the county. And then moving on to, as your system ages, it's about 10 years old now, how do we take care of that system going forward in the long term in the best way? And so I got a couple of solutions about that too. So, and if, feel free to stop me along the way and ask any questions you want. So, already did that part. So that's just a pretty slide. A little bit about who we are. Sorry about the TV and the screen. Yeah, it's probably okay. Like, people ask me a lot of times what Raycom does. Raycom, the word Raycom is just a contraction for radio communications, which is most of what we do, but not all of what we do. Like, we sell all the technology in the second half of a 911 call. And so, God forbid you got to call 911 when you go home tonight. But if you do, you'll pick up your cell phone and hit the 9 key and hold it down until it dials 911. A cellular company delivers it to your dispatch center. And basically all the technology from there until the time somebody comes to your house is stuff that we sell, we provide, we service, we maintain, we monitor. And we're doing almost all of that technology. The 911 phone system, the dispatch console, the log and recorder, the radio system, all of the stuff in a police car except the car and the gun, the stuff that Raycom does. And so we're the second. If Verizon or US Cellular or AT&T is the first half of a 911 call, we're sort of the second half of a 911 call. We're not a manufacturer. We don't make anything. We're a system integrator, and we integrate technology from lots of different equipment manufacturers. The biggest ones are L3 Harris. That is the manufacturer of the radio system that you have today and the radios that your first responders carry. But we're a distributor for several other major two-way radio manufacturers as well. We're just a mid-sized company. We're about 225 employees across the whole country now. We have 16 service shops. The closest one here is the one that Pete runs in Cedar Rapids. It's just to the east of the airport, Cedar Rapids, that industrial park there. And while my father is the person who started Raycom back in 1972, 2 years ago, we merged our company together with another company just like ours that's headquartered in New York City called Eastern Communications. And so now we're a nationwide company that operates under the name Eastern on all the states east of the Mississippi, and operates under the name Raycom on all the states west of the Mississippi. And so we're now the third largest two-way radio integrator in America, and the largest one that doesn't sell any Motorola radios. I talked about this just a little bit. We do lots of other things besides just the radio, and we do many of those things here for your county as well. This is where all of our, the red ones are company-owned facilities, and the blue dots across America are all the facilities that we partner with. And so, well, you can see the concentration of our business. We have kind of three geographic concentrations, and you can just tell by the dots. In the Midwest, we do an awful lot of business, and I have a concentration there. In the East Coast, in and around the New York City area. In fact, this morning, before I left, I was dealing with a project where we're selling radios, the exact same radios that are in your police cars. We're getting ready to sell to the New York City Police Department, the world's largest police department in America. They want to put that radio that you have in your car on their motorcycles. So, and then we do a lot of business in the Pacific Northwest, specifically the state of Washington too. This is a picture of our headquarters building in Marshalltown on the third floor. We have, during the day, if your first responders have a problem with their radio system, they'll call Pete at the local Cedar Rapids shop. And then after hours, we operate a 24/7 network control center where all your sites are alarmed, and technicians are dispatched after hours and on weekends and holidays from that center.
that survived the derecho too, didn't it?
Well, yes, it did. We had kind of two events. We had the tornado in Marshalltown that was July 19th, 2018. And that was the real bad one, where it was kind of a direct hit, 150 mile an hour winds that are building. And the radio system stayed up and stayed going through all of that, even though the building kind of lost all of its siding. And then the derecho was in 2020, like August 10th or something like that, 2020.
Or no, it was the 10th year.
I think it was, yeah, I was just came up on I have those dates be like etched into my brain, both of them. And, we had really no issues at all in our radio system on the duration. And so I'll move from like who Raycom is in a background to a little bit about what your radio system looks like. So you gave us a contract to build you a new radio system in 2016, almost 10 years ago. Oh, sorry. I don't know why I did that. And then we built that radio system, and you gave us final acceptance on what we had built in 2018. And so what that system is, and your maintenance contract runs through, I think that might be 2027. I wrote 2026 there, but I think
There's an amendment that runs.
I think I might be, I think it might be go through 27. So sorry about that. There are 5 different tower sites in your county that provide coverage throughout the county. And I think one of the things that we're proud of, and I think the sheriff and Josh will tell you, is that the radio system provides great coverage for your first responders, which of course is the very most important thing about a public safety radio system's coverage. The blue is covered area at 95% or better, and so the little dark blue dots, Victor, Marinville, Williamsburg, Millersburg, and Homestead, are the 5 power site locations. Almost 600 radios are used in that system. And we also have a system, I did not depict a picture of it here, but your fire paging system, the pagers that your volunteer firefighters carry, that's a separate system that has 9 different tower sites on that. The system's used quite a little bit. I ran some reports when I was putting together this presentation. 150,000 times a month, somebody's hit push to talk on the radio. So, system's highly used. And so I'll back out. This is a map of the eastern side of Iowa and all of the different counties that use our radio system for their primary communications. Almost all of your neighbors, I wish I had a laser pointer, but you can see Iowa County there. They're in the middle. But almost everyone around you, Powashik, Tama, Benton, Lynn, Johnson, Washington, Nebraska, almost all the counties that touch you use the same radio system for their communications, so that if the sheriff gets on a pursuit going down Interstate 80, either to the east or to the west, his radio seamlessly transitions from one county to the other. He shares coverage with all of your neighboring counties. He has seamless interoperability with all the first responders, not just within his county, but all the counties surrounding him. And that interoperability with other mutual aid partners extends also to the State Patrol. And the State Patrol uses a different radio system, as you know, but the sheriff and Josh has interoperability on their radio system to that radio system. So their communication with state assets is not hindered either. I think, did I know that, was one of you as a supervisor, former Iowa State Patrolman?
Yeah.
You were, sir? Yeah, thank you. The State Patrol has another radio system called ISIX. Yeah. And so, and that's a very fine radio system, widely used by state assets and several locals. But this radio system called SARA is the most widely used radio system, particularly in eastern Iowa. And you can see the statistic at the bottom. 10 of the 15 largest cities in the state don't use ISIX for their day-to-day communications. They use this radio system, the one that you use. We call it SARA, Shared Area Radio Agreement. And 7 of the 10 largest counties in the state don't use ISIX for their day-to-day communications. They use SARA for their day-to-day communications. And there's several reasons for that. I'll get into some of them, but that just got, if you all those little blue dots are tower sites, and the different colors of the blue dots indicate like what kind of technology is running on them, simulcast or multi-site. If you add those all up, I think in the eastern side of the state, there's about 110 different towers that your first responders have access to for coverage and interoperability needs.
What were the red and the green ones?
So the red ones are ones that are like under construction right now. So if you go look up at Clayton County, up Elkader there in northeast Iowa, those are all red up there. Those 3 sites are actually sitting in my building in Marshalltown, getting ready for final acceptance to move to the tower site. So they're under construction. And the one down in Jasper County says Vandalia. I think that one's actually up and running live. We should change the map to blue. That's the red ones. The green ones are a technology called multi-site versus simulcast. Just 2 different ways of transmitting signal. Most of the ISIX network is a multi-site network because they're trying to cover wide open, long spaces. Most locals want simulcast because it provides better coverage, particularly on a portable radio in buildings. And so that's why you see so many of the dots are blue, because the customers that we have are local police departments and county sheriffs who really want portable radio coverage in a building. But about 110 total towers.
That's without a repeater.
Without a vehicular repeater, that's right. Patrol, of course, when you were a trooper, you probably had a vehicular repeater in your car that extended the coverage from the mobile radio to the portable radio, which is a good way, particularly for a trooper if you're trying to cover wide spaces out on the roads. As you probably experienced at some point in your career, vehicular repeaters can offer some issues when you get a whole bunch of people together, and you can get like repeaters fight for control, and guys have trouble talking sometimes. And so
It was vastly improved when I left.
yeah.
When it first started, it was real bad.
Yeah. So anyway, most locals, and particularly on the eastern side of the state, use this network. So, this is sort of like foundational to who Raycom is, and it's really why I think most locals in the state have chosen to use us for service and our network for their day-to-day communications, because it's not just about great technology. I mean, the fact of the matter is that L3 Harris, who is the underpinning technology of what our network is built in, and Motorola, which is the underpinning technology of the radio network that the Highway State Patrol uses, are both great technologies. They both build great radio systems that last a long time. The real difference is you have to have a great radio system. You need great technology, but you also need great service. And so that's really where we at Raycom think we shine over the option that the State Patrol and Motorola has, because we have such a wide and vast local service presence. And so if you are a county like Iowa County that doesn't have a staff of people that are taking care of radios and programming radios and fixing radios and installing radios, you need help to do that. And so we provide that to a much greater degree than the state system in Motorola. And that's why people choose, this is really the reason why people choose us. And so we'll get into now what your current maintenance agreements look like, and what Josh and our team have been working on for several months is like, what should it look like in the future? And so your current maintenance, here I corrected the slide here. Your current systems are under maintenance agreement through 2027. And what, a maintenance agreement really is covering, we extend the manufacturer warranty on your radios and your radio system. When you buy a radio, you get a warranty for a couple of years, I think it is. And on the equipment that you, at the tower sites, that's a 1-year warranty. And so the maintenance agreement is extending that warranty. And it also covers annual preventative maintenance that we do. You reprogram your radios every year when new people come, new software, things like that. And on the sites, the picture you see on the right-hand side, the left-hand side of that picture is the inside of a tower site. A radio site today is really a computer, a Cisco router, a switch, and some radio channels. So there's a lot of software that gets upgraded for cybersecurity reasons and things like that a couple times a year at least. And so that's included in your maintenance contract as well. You're paying us roughly today
about 300,000 a year for that. And might be, Josh, it might be a little less than that now, and then
Yes.
it's
like right at 300 for
Yeah.
the maintenance contract.
usually escalates 2 or 3% a year through the life of contracts. But that's about what the number is now. Some of the things that we don't cover in a maintenance agreement is when equipment is obsolete because the manufacturer has end of life that equipment, and you have trouble getting parts. We don't cover equipment obsolescence in the maintenance agreement. And that's where your current situation is today. Many of the pieces of your system are either at end of life, manufacturer obsolescence or manufacturer end of life, or they will soon be coming to manufacturer end of life over the next several years. And so it's like, what do we, now that the radio system is almost 10 years old, how do we plan for that going forward? As you know, these kinds of systems are really expensive. And so how do you plan for those sort of expenses? And so I'll try and take you through this. We think that your, instead of the old plan of when something breaks, I put a Band-Aid on it and I fix it, or I replace it and I fix it, and you get into that cycle, it's unknown expenditures, and they come at odd times. And while we're doing those repairs, your system doesn't have the kind of reliability that needs to work for your first responder. And so we've come up with a plan here that it's the same plan that Lynn County has signed up for, Johnson County has signed up for, where we do an addendum to your existing maintenance contract so that we replace all of the important pieces of your system at staged intervals, so that you don't get in a situation where your system breaks or fails at an inopportune time. And so I'll take you through it. And this is your current maintenance contract. I think 288,000.
One second, Mike, just really quick. So what he's gonna show is our current, what we're paying them, but keep in mind, you still have the bond out there that you're paying for. That goes till 2030, so this doesn't include that. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So this is your existing maintenance contract, and that 288 ends in 2027. And I just sort of extended it out at 3% increments clear through 2040. And the bottom in the black is what, I don't know why it's doing that, I'm sorry, my animation isn't going right. Those two items in the bottom are proposals that we're giving you to replace your infrastructure over and finance it over the next 15 years. And so Josh and our team have gotten together to say, what pieces of your system will go end of life or need to be replaced over the next 2 to 5 years? And instead of like bonding and paying for that at one lump sum, how do I pay for it over time? And so when I say infrastructure, I mean things like the microwave radios that connect your tower sites together, the channels at the sites themselves, your paging system. And so all of those things over the next several years will need to be upgraded and or replaced. And so this addendum to your maintenance contract, those are the kind of the annual fees, approximately, pretty close. I can give you
Yeah, I'll take a picture, then I don't forget it all down.
yeah, I can send you this presentation.
Yeah, either way.
And so then the second item is your radios themselves. This is the handheld radios and the car radios. Those are already right now end of life by the manufacturer. And so those are probably the thing that need to be replaced the soonest. And so we've offered a program to finance those, not over 15 years, but over 10 years. And really the reason is a radio doesn't last 15 years, but you probably get about 10 out of it or almost 10 out of it. And so that's the fee for replacing radios over a 10-year time frame. And so if you add all those three columns together, your annual expenditure would go up quite a bit, but you are really, what you're doing is creating a program where your public safety radio system never gets old, never goes end of life, always stays current, and always stays robust and reliable. And so that's the concept that we've been talking about. This is the last slide, and the next slide is just questions and next steps, but I'll answer questions.
I have some.
Okay.
First one, the Harris versus the Zetron or whatever. Is there a difference, like price point wise? Is one significantly more expensive than the other?
Yeah, so in terms of like the kind of radios you can buy,
Yeah.
yeah, so you could buy radios from several manufacturers. You can L3 Harris, which is who you currently buy them from. Then there's Motorola, which lots of people buy from too. Then there's Kenwood and Tate. Those are sort of the four brands that people buy.
Mm-hmm.
There are certainly price differences and feature differences between them. And so I think what we priced, you currently have, I think, 100% L3 Harris radios. And we priced, again, 100% L3 Harris radios. But certainly there are other brands of radios that you could look at that may change the number a little bit, but not like move the needle super great amount.
Okay. So compared to the other 19 counties that you had on there, is like, what's the average number of radios that people have? I know I kind of did the math of 15,000.
Yeah.
So the average would be like 789. Or like for a county our size, is that pretty standard?
Pretty close.
Okay. Okay. And same
I
thing.
mean, like I think in Lynn County, there's 2,200. And
Tama County would be really close to our size. I
Tama County,
don't know how many they have.
about 500 radios. I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Denton County is another one. I think that they're over 400 or 500 radios. So it's pretty close.
Okay. Next one, merging with other counties. Is there a way that we could work with other counties to come up with a contract to potentially save the taxpayers money?
Okay, yeah. But yes, technically you could do that. I don't want to get into a political conversation about like merging 911 centers or anything like that.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you're talking about though.
Yeah.
The technology that we have absolutely allows that. A dispatcher in Marengo, let's say, you know, it rained a lot and there was flooding and they had to abandon the dispatch center in Marengo. They could go to Vinton and username and password, sign in and dispatch on your radio system from Vinton or Cedar Rapids or Iowa City or Tama Toledo. So yeah, the technology absolutely allows that.
Well, I was more wondering about like our maintenance. Like, is there good buying power if we were to go together with other counties? Is there a way to?
I don't think there's enormous savings doing that.
Problem you have is everybody's on a different life cycle of the contract. So
Yeah.
Johnson County, Lynn County, 2 years ago, they renewed. So they're now set for another 10 years. All these counties came on at different times, so that's the issue we run into with.
There's different vintages. PowerSheet system, you know, they just came online like last year. And so the vintage of routers, servers, and switches that we installed in there are, you know, 6 or 7 years newer than the ones that you have. And so.
I think as far as buying power, we get that. We get some discounts from Harris because we have Harris infrastructure. So the radios are cheaper than they would be if we were just going out and buying one radio from XYZ. So that's why currently we have all Harris equipment, because we got some concessions from Harris and Raycom because we bought all the Harris infrastructure and because they want to keep this thing going as it is. So that's the benefit of using the same brand. Now, if we can go buy a Motorola radio, they can't service it. So now you have to have another maintenance contract with someone else to service the portable radio, the radios, and then with Raycom still to service the infrastructure. So you end up having a whose fault really is it type situation if something's not working. So it's good to keep it, in my opinion, good to keep it with one company if at all possible, so we don't have a lot of back and forth problems. Now, somebody wants to buy their own Motorola radio outside of our contract or some other brand, that's perfectly fine. But they have to provide that service contract. Now, part of this agreement we signed years ago was that we would have a maintenance contract and we would keep our system up to date. Now, if we decide to go off of that, this doesn't include any of those costs. There's a whole lot more stuff that has to be figured out. If we choose to not be a part of this agreement, we want to be a standalone county, then we lose a lot of things, but we also would have extra costs that aren't associated with what he's talking about here.
Yeah, what Josh is saying is true. Your sites, your 5 sites, all connect to what we call a core, which is like a big computer that controls what happens on those 5 sites. You don't have that core in Iowa County. You actually are sharing the core that Lynn County purchased and bought. And so some counties are like yours where they're sharing someone else's core. Other counties have decided like, I'm gonna buy my own, like Scott County has their own. And so if you said, I don't want to be part of this network anymore, and say, okay, then I have to have my own core. And so there's an expense to that. And so there is some purchasing power that you get from not having to have your own core. And really, it's in Lynn County. Well, the reason why Lynn County shares it is because they get coverage in part of their county from some of your sites and interoperability with your first responders and extended coverage in your area. So it's in everybody's best interest to do that, 20/80 like sharing.
What is the cost of one radio?
Yeah, so they range from like $2,800 to $6,000 depending on, like features and
But the ones that we have.
capabilities. I don't know.
The ones we have today, is that what you're asking about? Well, the ones we have, one set of ones we had today were $1,200 for the cheaper ones and $3,000, I think, for the more expensive ones. But that was 10 years ago.
So what would the new ones approximately cost, you think?
Probably the $2,000 for the lower cost ones, so it's shown 2. And it's up in probably $4,000 to $5,000 for the higher tier law enforcement public safety.
So the fire departments have a different one than law enforcement has.
Yeah, there's some different models in use today, and that's kind of how we priced it moving forward, to different models. Lower cost model if it's a different use.
Back when we originally went with the system, we had to have a lot more options on the radios than we do now, only due to the fact that nobody else around us at the time had the same system. We were Johnson, Lynn, and us, Blackhawk, were the counties that really had the system, and now, as you see, we're surrounded, so we don't need to have dual functionality in the radios, and a lot of the technology is to get rid of a lot of those extra costs within the radio. So sure, those whatever $4,000 radios should be like $6,000 or $7,000 if we were to go with the same thing we have today. But we reduced a lot of the features that we don't need, reduced the number of radios that places have. Now the 600 radio number, that's including the engineer and transportation, which I'm not including replacing right now because we can't put that into an essential purpose bond. So if we do an essential purpose bond, they have to pay for those on their own. That's not considered essential county purpose. So their radios, I think, I don't know how many for sure, 75 or 80 radios that would come off of that number that he had, that the engineer has.
And that's EMS as well.
Well, EMS is on currently what we have, yeah. Right. Fire, all the fire departments, all the quick responders, all the cops, all EMS, all the weather spotters, EMA. That's all what we would be talking about replacing for radios.
What's the future look like? I mean, are they gonna be able to manufacture a radio that's end of life is longer than 10 years? I mean, I think with the technology we have, we could get a radio that we could have for more than 10 years.
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think actually, unfortunately, it's actually moving in the other direction.
Wow.
And so, and I'll tell you why. So radios today are really, it's a radio and a cell phone sort of jammed together. And so a lot of the radios, if you drive out of coverage of your radio system, the radio will go look for a cellular signal on Verizon or AT&T or US Cellular and flip to that. Then when they drive back, they flip forward. And so, cellular technology, of course, changes way faster than, P25 land mobile radio technology. You go from 2G to 3G to 4G to 5G, every 2 or 3 years. And so, when I first started in this business, I can remember the first radios I sold to the Polk County Sheriff, I didn't sell again for 17 years. And so that's like totally unheard of now. Or a radio system in the last 15 or 20 years. That's pretty much unheard of now. And so that 10 years is about the maximum you're gonna get out of a radio these days.
Will we ever get away from using towers and go off satellites or not?
So that's a great question too, sir. Like I was just involved in and Dwayne, you were too, in a focus group with L3 Harris has hired like vision kind of what's the next radio look like, the next generation of radios look like. And so now they have like the highest capability radios got VHF, UHF, 7/800 mil, all in the same radio, plus cellular, and the next is plus Starlink. And so if you're really remote, your radio would roam from your radio system to cellular, then even to satellite Starlink. So yeah, that's the future. I think it's probably several years away, but that's coming. Even, your cell phone, your iPhone kind of has that today, right? So.
But wait a minute, it's coming to radio, so hopefully something we get rid of the towers.
Yeah. Towers are expensive, right? I mean, building a tower is expensive, paying rent on towers is expensive, zoning towers is difficult. And so the biggest problem and expense in buying a radio system is like building all those towers. That Clayton County system that you were asking about, why those dots are red up there, isn't because I can't order the equipment installed, because I have a heck of a time zoning and building towers, takes a long time.
So like a question that, discussing this with some people in the public is, if the technology we have today is working and doing our job, why do we have to advance? Can't we just stay with that technology?
Yeah.
I know when, with better technology, you have better features and things you can do, but
Yeah.
the technology today is working. Basically, the layman says, if our radios are working right now, why do we have to go?
Yeah, there's a couple things. One, cybersecurity. And so your radio system is, like I told you, essentially just a computer IT network. And so if you could Google, and look up like public safety radio systems that have been hacked. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of them that have been taken down by hackers. And so making sure that you keep with equipment in your system that is the most up-to-date software for cybersecurity patches. And if you're like a Cisco or HP or Dell, you released patches only up for a few years, then you end the life of the product, and then they don't have patches anymore. And so we have to have like hardware replacement programs to replace those, so your systems are constantly up to date for cybersecurity. That's probably reason number one. And reason number two is the electronic components inside of those boxes just goes end of life. Manufacturers don't manufacture them, so you can't get parts to repair them for as long as you used to be able to do. And so, yeah, if it's working, that's great. What happens when it doesn't? What happens when lightning hits the tower and I can't get a repair part to repair that? And so we do the best we can with holding inventory and parts and stock for older systems and things like that. But that's that mentality of wait till it breaks, bandage it, wait till it breaks again, then replace it. And so, and that, that may work for some pieces of the county. I challenge whoever you're hearing that from in the public to say, your public safety radio system is not a place to have that sort of mentality. And it's probably one where you ought to be proactive about making sure your system is reliable as possible. Because that same person that's asking that question, doggone it, when he shows up at their house, they want him there quick and they want to be able to communicate, to who they need to communicate to reliably.
Question for you.
Yes.
In your example of a lightning strike hitting the tower, what would be the cost estimated to replace the equipment or whatever is up there?
Yeah, so, our maintenance contracts and, you know, at some point in this process, you'll see all the language, you can probably see the current language. That's an act of God is not covered in your maintenance contract. Usually, like in that specific example, lightning, your insurance, would cover, you know, a lightning strike. And so, how much would that cost to, I mean, it's totally, I have no idea. I don't know how much, what would be, destroyed in a lightning strike versus not, but, we deal with those things all the time. And most customers turn that cost of repair to their insurance company.
So in that scenario, couldn't we, let's say we didn't upgrade everything and you didn't have parts to fix it, we would put a whole new system in, right? And that would go through our insurance.
No, but just for that one tower, we would have two separate, right?
Yeah, so there's five tower sites that, you need all 5 tower sites to give coverage across the service area that the sheriff covers. And so if lightning hit Victor and totally destroyed the Victor tower, so we would do our very best to repair Victor as quickly as possible to get that coverage back so your first responders can communicate, up to and including, we have like a mobile site that we let people, those who have maintenance contracts, we let use for situations like that. But you could turn the cost of that repair to your insurance and get a new site for Victor. This happened in Washington County just in the last year. They had a tornado, it's been 2 or 3 years, it actually took the entire tower, the tornado hit the tower, it took it entirely to the ground. And so insurance paid for a new structure. I mean, it was hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it took over a year to replace it, mostly because it took a long time to build a tower.
So I don't know, maybe this isn't her question, but if you hit Victor and you have to put a new stuff in because you can't get the old parts, will the new system talk to the old system?
Yeah, that is a benefit of having a maintenance agreement. And so the maintenance agreement for us allows you to keep your software all at current revisions. And
So it's up to date then?
yes, yeah, having a software and hardware replacement plan, make sure that not only can one site talk to another site, but your system can talk to Powashik County and Johnson County and Benton County and Tama.
So software side, we stay up to date. It's
Right now you've
hardware,
got
it's
it,
all
yeah.
hardware.
Right now you have the software side through 2027. You don't really have the hardware side, and that's what we're talking about.
We have part of the software through 2027, part of it through 2026.
Because I mean, I've had a cell phone so long that they'll quit doing updates on it because it's too old, so I don't know if that happens.
Similar, it's a similar situation.
If we get too old, then it will quit updating us.
Correct.
That, I mean, so going back to using the lightning strike example, if we didn't replace everything and do this whole, like the infrastructure part of it, if a tower goes down by an act of God, right? We're still covered. You know, we still have options and it would be reimbursed through our insurance company. And I don't think that it would affect our system because we'll put a new one up or we'll do the repairs, get the new system, whatever it might be. You know what I mean?
Well-
Under insurance money.
Okay, so I think you're oversimplifying it a little bit. So if we don't do the maintenance repairs, or we don't do the infrastructure part, we can no longer be part of this shared area radio system. So we would be then a standalone county.
I thought this was just hardware.
If we don't update the hardware so that everything communicates and we have an up-to-date maintenance agreement, which means we are staying up to date with what the current stuff is, then we would be a standalone county, right? Because we're not maintaining our systems to the standards of P25 standard. We have the current software, but if the hardware is no longer up to date and valid, then it's not a current maintenance. The cost he gave for a maintenance price is based on us updating the things so that they don't have to try to source something from who knows where of an out-of-date piece of equipment. So the maintenance contract won't be that number if we don't update the infrastructure or the radios. The radios are gonna die, so we're just gonna lose radios if we don't do those. But we went through and tried to find all the things we could do to try to push some of this out a little further. That's why there's two different numbers there. Because some of that stuff doesn't have to be replaced tomorrow. The radios are done, they're ready to be replaced. So, yes, you're right that the lightning strike, if we forgot a lightning strike on the equipment today, with a current maintenance contract and everything, our insurance would replace the equipment with the newest current thing, right? So sure, if we have 5 lightning strikes on every tower, we can potentially replace all of our equipment under insurance. Our insurance company is probably gonna drop us after that, but I mean, you're talking about $500,000 or more per site for damaged equipment. But if we don't replace the equipment, then the lightning strike is really irrelevant because now we're talking about a whole different model of pricing here.
I'd like to see that though. I'd like to know what the pricing would be. Because would you offer us a maintenance agreement if we don't replace everything?
That's hard to do. I'll give you an example. So right now, your radios are end of life from the manufacturer. The manufacturer doesn't make a lot of the radios, particularly the radio your firefighters are carrying. And so right now, we charge a maintenance agreement to extend the factory warranty on those firefighter radios. I think we charge like $8 or $9 or $10 per month per radio to extend that warranty. And if those radios come to me and they're broken, and you say, Mike, go fix this radio, and I can't get the parts for that radio because the manufacturer doesn't make them anymore, it's hard for me to fix it, and it's hard for me to give you essentially an insurance policy on something that I can't really repair. And so, can I give you a maintenance contract on that radio? Sure, not for the same price I'm charging it today. It'd be much more expensive because it's much more expensive for me to repair that radio when it comes to me. And as the radio ages, it comes to me more often because they break more. And so, what Josh was saying is the prices I've quoted here really sort of assume that, yes, you sign up for a plan that keeps your system current. And so if you chose not to do that, well, that's a different pricing model that would have different prices. It's hard for me to do that.
It's just, we could buy, for the price of our maintenance agreement, we could buy 60 radios a year, which is 10%. We can spend that money on actually getting new equipment.
Yeah, of course, the maintenance contract covers more than just extending the warranty. I'm coming in here and reprogramming those radios once a year, making sure they have the most current version of code every year. When officers and firefighters leave and we need to have the alias to say Mike instead of Abby, so we know who we're talking to, that's covered in that. When your officers have questions on usage or whatever, they call, there's no charge for that. And so the maintenance contract, is broader than just extended warranty, but a big piece of it is extended warranty.
I think, so, for example, okay, this radio, guys will break the face of this, or the knobs will quit working or whatever, it gets sent in to be repaired, right? That's $1,000 to fix that we never see the cost of that, because that's part of the agreement, right? So we're probably spending in, for instance, a microwave card went out at the tower site, that's probably a what, $10,000 item? Recently, within the last month, that we don't budget for because it's in the maintenance contract. So back to what he said earlier, there's a lot of unknown expenditures that would happen that I don't know how anybody would budget for. If I gotta come up with $200,000 right now to fix something, I don't have it.
Yeah.
And I don't think you guys have it either. Without having some big pot of money set aside for what if a radio tower goes down and it's not lightning strike, it just fails.
His example of microwave card is a good one. And so, I have a maintenance contract that you're paying this much for, and it's hard for me to charge just that much. As that system ages and goes end of life, it breaks more and it's not manufactured anymore. And so, like, if you said, Mike, I'm gonna kick the can down the road. I'm like, okay, I understand. When the maintenance contract comes up, next year or the year after, and you want, either what you do is you break fix and you just pay as it goes, or you come back to me and say, I want another maintenance contract, but it only covers this. We could do that, but the price would be substantially higher. And I think the overall system reliability goes down.
So is the plan to replace all the equipment within the first year or two or whatever it might be?
Yeah, it's like staged over the first 5. The radios, like if, let's say you said, oh, Mike, I love this, we'll sign today. Well, we'd order the radios like soon. Yep, this year if we were, and then all the other pieces would happen between years 1 and years 5. So you get all the new stuff in the first 5 years, you just pay for it over a long period of time.
Okay.
I think the microwave is, Mike mentioned that and Josh mentioned that, that's a, I see emails here quite a bit recently about some microwave failures and parts. It's one thing to have a contract to cover it. It's another thing when the manufacturer has an obsolescence and then they tell us directly, hey, we can't support that anymore. We don't have parts anymore. And so it puts everybody all the way down to the end user where the radio doesn't work anymore or connect, or the consoles don't connect because there's a link failure. And we just simply don't have support. So that's at the end of life, it's a big piece besides age.
We got lucky when the microwave did fail, I think it was last month or whatever it was, that we actually had a spare card in another county that allowed us to get that back up until they could get back from there. We just don't have spares for that equipment sitting around. It's not available.
On new stuff you do.
Yeah, new technology, new parts, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. It's the old stuff you can't get from the manufacturers because they don't have it.
And that microwave link was our link to the core. That one was really important. We could have bypassed maybe another site, but that one was really important because that essentially turned Iowa County into an island. When that happened, like I said, we got lucky that we had the spare card in Lynn County that we could go get and use, because it could have been detrimental.
We bought, originally when we did this, we bought several spare parts of different things, and, those have since been used, and we don't budget to buy more stuff. It was all bought in the bond, so we didn't buy a bunch of spare parts. We've been able to get by so far with what was been out there. Kevin and John, you've both been on the emails from the net control. You guys see what breaks, what goes down, what's not working. You guys see that stuff also, so.
You get those emails too.
Yeah, Kevin was on the RGB and now John is on the RGB, so everybody on the RGB gets the net control email.
So I'm assuming the radios are worthless as far as resale value or.
Not very much. Well, not very much.
Some of these more expensive ones we're gonna get a little bit out of, the ones that are in the light, but these ones we're gonna get something out of.
You can't utilize, once you get a new system, you can't utilize them with like firemen for spares or backups, they're just worthless, right?
I think that actually some of what Josh planned in the radio replacement is actually passing some, like law enforcement radios to fire and then replacing them with law enforcement radios. So I think you had some of that, did you?
Yeah.
So
they would work.
Some of these radios that were law enforcement in the past are gonna end up being passed down.
that are end of life. There's not every one of your radios is end of life, but the firefighter ones in particular.
Well, there's like 400 of our 600 are there. With only like 101 law enforcement radios in the whole county.
What are the other ones that end of life? The ones that,
These?
Yeah.
I don't know, Harris is still making them, so I don't know when that'll be.
Which one are you hearing?
I told them, Mark.
Yeah, there's no plan end of life, right?
The maintenance agreement contract stuff that you have up here, will that be locked in?
Yes. See, that's one of the benefits, because, I'm sorry, I interrupted.
We had a jump, Josh, remind me, recently, a pretty significant.
2022, yeah. That was the amendment that they were talking about. So that was to cover the Cisco routers and the hardware stuff. Back when we originally signed, Harris used to cover the Cisco software maintenance, so they would just not pass that down. Well, in 2021, I think actually, they decided that, no, we're not doing that anymore, we're passing it on to Raycom. So for a year, actually, Raycom covered that cost, so it was like $100-some thousand. And with that $100-some thousand a year we pay, we got new routers, new switches, all the things we needed, also updated to connect with the big upgrade with the system, because there was a huge system-wide upgrade that the core, I think, like Lynn County spent like $400,000 just for their core to get it upgraded. So when you're asking about the sharing piece, we already got to be a part of that without having to pay to be a part of that. We didn't have to pay to help them update their core. We updated our specific pieces in Iowa County, but they shared that with us without having to pay the extra cost. So there are as far as I know, we share as much stuff as we can and take advantage of much of the sharing that we can do currently. And we would continue that, and as long as we have an agreement with the shared agreement that doesn't change things, so. Yeah, so what this is I don't ever want to see another bill again, which this is exactly what you're asking is, I don't want mid-contract for somebody to come to me and say, we didn't figure this out, we need to change your contract. But this is I don't want any problems ever again. You guys take care of everything from continuing on, for at least 10 years on radios and 15 years on infrastructure. Now, keep in mind, we talked about the bond. The bond was 15 years on a 10-year system. This is proposing 10 years for the radios and 15 years for the infrastructure. So we are going to try to push the infrastructure to 15 years this time and only 10 for the radios. The radios won't last any longer, but we can try to get the infrastructure. Like you said, we're trying to extend the first 5 years for the infrastructure stuff. So you're going to replace stuff as it needs to be replaced for the first 5 years, but we're starting to pay for it, so we don't have a $1 million expenditure on year 4. So you're paying for it as it's being replaced. So that makes sense. And actually, the maintenance contract fluctuates a little bit. He showed me what that looks like. We get some breaks at year 1 with the radios and at year 20, 30 with the infrastructure, where the manufacturer's warranty starts. So our maintenance price to Raycom drops significantly because those things are all covered under manufacturer's warranty for free to them, and they don't have to come up with cost. Then after their manufacturer's warranty goes up, then it goes back to what it cost before. So for a couple of years, the EMA payment for the maintenance contract will go down once in there. And that'll all be, once we sign the contract, you guys will have the schedule of everything when you do the contract with them, the renewal contract. And then we have to figure out if we need to do another 2080 with EMA or what, if we just do an agreement with, like we did in the past, however you guys will do that. But
Well, I think your way is gonna take some time and thoughts and considerations, because it's obviously a big ask of the taxpayers. And I think this board will have to do our due diligence in making sure that this is the right thing to do, so.
I understand. Yeah, I can give you, Abigail, the entire spreadsheet of every cost and how it goes up and down when you put new equipment in, how that changes it. We can go through all of that. But yeah, examples of, you see the microwave system is starting to fail now because of its age. And so that's probably one it's better to update, repair, and modernize that now before there's a critical failure. And so the whole goal of this concept is to replace those kind of things when you start to see emails like you're seeing now, but the system's still working, as opposed to wait until it breaks. And then having someone like me come to you and say, oh, sorry, it's not covered under your maintenance contract. Here's a $1.2 million bill for that, And so I know that that's a difficult pill for board supervisors to swallow as well. But I totally get it. This radio system like this is expensive to buy and it's expensive to maintain. And you should do your due diligence. And I know all of the options that you have for buying a radio system are all expensive to buy and expensive to maintain.
So time frame, what do we need to be moving on this?
Your radios are, those 400 fire radios are at end of life now. We have them under a maintenance agreement through 2026. And so we probably wouldn't cover those, I know at least not the same price after that. Those are the things that are probably the most pressing need, is to replace those.
I mean, it's gonna take a year to get stuff programmed, ordered, set up, delivered to the responders. So, I mean, October would be, we should have something figured out probably by October at the latest, I would say. If we're gonna, not one way or the other, whatever the plan is,
We should have come with some kind of decision by then, I think.
Yes.
I mean,
And then
I did talk to Heidi a little bit, about bonding, and she said that, we could do a ramp-up bond for some of this, if you didn't want to do it through Raycom, if you want to just pay for it all. You can do a ramp-up bond where you pay something, a little bit of something every year, and then, once your other bond gets paid off, you ramp up to a bigger number. That's up to you guys on, I guess, how you want to fund it. I think, I'm assuming this is gonna be similar costs to them. He's offering you this price, so.
yeah, I'd say the radios are probably the number one need, and probably the microwave system is number two. And so, if I was making a recommendation to Josh and Sheriff on when to do some of those, we'd probably do the radios as early as possible in 2026, and the microwave system later in 26. I mean, these are all big projects that are service interrupting type things. You go into maintenance windows and things like that. So making sure you have them staged and planned, and with the first responders is pretty important. So you don't do everything at once. It's kind of too much.
Any other questions?
Nope.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thanks for
Yeah,
coming
thank
out.
Thanks, everybody, for coming.
Everybody have a good weekend.
You want me to roll that cable back up, somebody trips over?
I can do it.
But I can just stay there.
No,
I could have just stayed there.
you want it?
And just- We had to go to it for another meeting once.
Well,
It stays in this room.
okay.
It'll be just you.
Maybe you want me to. Just thanks again to y'all.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Are you ready to adjourn? Do you need anything
I
else?
think so.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. We are adjourned.